Alrighty, we are back live once again with another Johnny Torch live broadcast. Torch News Roundup number 107 today. Yes, it's a little bit later than usual. Couple of reasons for that. We had some news came out in the afternoon, basically the Birds of Prey news, that set us back a little bit because I had to adjust accordingly. I try to make sure I cover the most topical news and not have to save everything for the next broadcast. As some of the issues that we're going to be talking about here are a week old as it is. So I try to strike while the iron's hot. Uh, but, all that matters is that we are here together, and we are here together, yes, indeed. Before we get going, a first order of business, please check out my link to my website in the description below. Bullets Bourbon Comics, The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon, Private Eye, where we are working, or I should say I am working, very hard on getting issue number 5 out, and it is a killer. There is plenty of action in this one. I've been coloring a couple of pages the past couple of days as well in this tremendous action scene that we're having as the centerpiece of the issue. It's a 3-issue story arc, and it is about the teaming up of Bullets Bourbon's two main villains, Carrot Top and Pencil Neck. As you can see in the image here on my icon on the screen, and they are going to give our hero nothing but trouble, let me tell you. All right, also, you can find the link to my Twitter page in the description below. As always, we have a lot of fun on my Twitter page if you want to check it out. We have a poll of the week question this week, and it is tied very closely to the topic we've been talking about the past couple of weeks, the Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie, the solo Joker movie. So you want to head over there and check that out. You still have 4 days left, it says, 4.5, I guess, to vote in this poll, and it's one of my most popular polls. I've got 199 votes on it as of this broadcast, and you can be the 200th vote. Who knows if you are listening to this broadcast within the next 4 days of its airing. The question is, and I put to my fans the question, if Joaquin Phoenix's The Joker movie ends up being pretty good, and all indications seem to be that it will be pretty good at least, would you be against him replacing the Jared Leto movie version going forward in the DCEU? Special thanks to Superhero Polls. He retweeted it for me, which was very nice indeed. And he does that for everyone, of course, not just me. So check his site out on Twitter. 31% say keep Jared Leto as the Joker in the DCEU at large. 69%, a pretty strong majority, advocate replacing Leto with Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, even though we've never really even seen any, tangible scenes of his apart from some behind the scenes footage. But this was a bit of a closer vote originally. It kind of pulled away in the past, I don't know, 24 hours. But you still have time to vote. A lot of people are advocating to keep both, which I probably could have used as an option. Although, I don't know how that would work because they're saying the 3 Jokers. There's a 3 Jokers comic out or something. I know something about it peripherally. I haven't seen too much about that yet, where apparently the Joker exists as 3 different people. And, of course, with Heath Ledger's Joker, this would have been something they could have maybe pulled together. Although, I don't know, Joaquin Phoenix's Joker looks a little too reminiscent of that, but we're going to get to that in a second. Right now, we're going to talk about, well, let me just put the cap on that. Make sure you head over to Johnny Torch on Twitter, and you can vote in this poll. Let me know what you think. And if you missed the poll for any reason or didn't make it to the poll in time, you can let me know in the comments below. What do you think? Would you rather have, if you had a choice of either or, would you rather have Joaquin Phoenix's Joker going forward in the DCEU, or would you rather stay with Jared Leto? Okay, so we've got a lot to talk about. Let's get to it. I think another reason why we're late is I also had to check out the Creed 2 second trailer. And of course, there isn't a lot of images. I always try to grab as many images as I can, screenshots from the trailers that we're going to talk about. I guess it doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, you can go view these trailers yourself, and you probably already have at this point if you're going to watch a commentary about it. But I only have a few, and we're going to talk about it anyway because, again, if I wait until the next broadcast, which is probably Saturday, it's going to be old news. So let's talk about that Creed 2 second trailer. I thought it was phenomenal. I thought it was absolutely terrific. And, Michael B. Jordan, of course, is a very talented actor. He really is immersed himself in this role. The storyline looks excellent. Of course, like I said before with the first trailer, Sylvester Stallone, he knows how to write a good story. He knows what the Rocky franchise needs. And a lot of people, I am predicting it now, they're going to trash this movie. They're going to talk down about this movie because they're going to try to portray it as fast food, so to speak. They're going to say this is the hamburger and fries of, cinema, while Creed, the original film, was the filet mignon. And that is because the storyline and the way that Stallone puts together a film is very viscerally, and people responded more to when he was doing Rocky 1 and Rocky 2 than they did to when he and Rocky Balboa, of course, than to when he did his more action oriented Rocky films in the 80s, such as Rocky 3, Rocky 4. I guess you'd probably put Rocky 5 in that category, although, by everybody's reckoning, that one was a step down. But this does feel like it is going to have one foot in that action movie era, and I think that is fantastic. I love Rocky 4, I love Rocky 3, and to step back into that framework, I think there's nothing wrong with it. But of course, it's also going to be politically driven. I've already said this. I've gone on record as saying that the people in charge didn't want Stallone, the studio brass, so to speak, didn't want Stallone stepping behind the camera. He was originally going to direct. He wanted to direct, but they gave it to Stephen Caple Jr., which I believe Stallone did pick as his successor. They gave the film to him because they really didn't want to take it away from Ryan Coogler, who was, of course, the writer and director of the first film, and hand it to a aging white director when they probably could give it to an up and coming black director. So again, politics at work here. I believe. Eh, I've had people on Twitter tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong in the comments if you want, but I think that's pretty much the case. But again, this trailer looks phenomenal. Let's talk a little bit about it. I'll see if I can get a couple of the screen grabs up. Let's see. We start off with Adonis, and I believe her name was Bianca. Is that what her name was? I don't know. I haven't seen the movie in a while. I'm gonna pick up the Rocky films and Creed, and because I'm still updating all my stuff on DVD and stuff. I've just got stuff on VHS, and I don't have Creed in the collection. I just got mostly the Rocky stuff on VHS. Gonna pick up all the DVDs and go through them all before Creed 2. That's gonna be fun. Uh, Obviously, Adonis and Bianca is growing their family. We've got the baby here, and a lot of the trailer talks about Rocky telling him that he has people that needs him, and it is not something that he really needs to do to prove. Even his mother or stepmother, I suppose, is telling him that it's not about his father, this fight, although it kind of is, right? I mean, he kind of wants revenge, although even in the interviews I think that Michael B. Jordan has had, that he says that there's more to it than just revenge. I think a lot of it is him trying to prove to himself that he can win over the insurmountable odds that the original Apollo couldn't win against. You know, that was part of what he had to learn. And that baby is so cute, by the way, I have to say before we go on to the next image. One of the highlights, of course, is seeing Stallone and Drago, Ivan Drago, played by Dolph Lundgren, together on the set for the same at the same time for the first time in 30 years, 30 plus years since we've seen Stallone facing off against Lundgren. And you know, they look great. They still look great. They kept themselves in great shape. Rocky says things like, he broke things in me that never been fixed. Of course, mentioning, you know, they're still keeping it in canon, of course, that he had brain damage after the fight during Rocky 5. That becomes an issue. Although, to say that never been fixed, I don't know. Didn't he kind of come out of that, you know, let's just say that it was kind of a misdiagnosis. Even if it wasn't a misdiagnosis, I think that when he got battered by Tommy Gunn, it sort of put his his brain damage back in perspective. I'm not sure. But anyway, yeah, this looks to be very interesting. Uh, there's some great training scenes, and that's one of the things you love about the Rocky films as well, is the training scenes. It looks like a lot of the training is going to take place in the desert, which I think is a great, you know, counterpoint to Rocky 4, where Rocky was training in Siberia. And in this case, Adonis is like going to his own, you know, wilderness, you know, for some religious, you know, allegory here. He's going to his wilderness the same way that Rocky did his wilderness training in Siberia amongst the snow and the mountains. Adonis does it in the dry, arid, you know, desert and the flat surface. It looks phenomenal. And of course, in this case, it looks like the antagonist, Victor Drago, it doesn't look like he's quite doing, I found this interesting. It doesn't look like he's quite doing the high tech training that his father did in Rocky 4. If you remember in Rocky 4, you know, Ivan Drago was training and taking steroids and using the state of the art equipment while Rocky was, you know, climbing mountains and lifting, you know, heavy logs and so forth. It was, you know, an interesting balance. And, you know, it looks like they're going to take this fight in Philly. It looks like the fight is in Philly, so there's not going to be any of those. I suppose there's not going to be any of those, you know, distance fights. There's not going to be no changes in distance here in this fight on location, so to speak. Again, yeah, they look great. You know, Michael B. Jordan looks like a beast. I mean, come on, the guy is ripped, and you know, he he is, you know, like I said, he's a great actor. You can tell there's a lot of emotion in the trailer as well, which is a, you know, another Rocky staple, and you can tell that this is, like I said, a fight that he's taking more to prove something to himself. I think probably the best Rocky films had that. Well, I think all the Rocky films really had that. One would argue maybe not 4. He was trying to, again, is it a subject of revenge? I don't know. I don't know if it's revenge or just them proving to themselves that they can overcome the insurmountable odds, because Drago is supposed to be, you know, the best of the best, high tech trained and so forth. I don't know. I think there's a lot of layers to this, a lot of layers. And let's see, we've got, that's about it. That's all I got for trailer images. But yeah, that looks awesome. That reminds me very much. Got Michael Buffer in the background too. It's nice to know he's still getting work in these films. But it reminds me very much of Rocky 4, where, you know, the Russian is towering over the American, and it's, you know, quite the same thing here. Of course, Adonis looking very intense here, because this, of course, you know, this of course is very personal, and you can understand why he would take this fight. We see Adonis at the grave of Apollo, and yeah, there's a lot of great imagery here in this trailer as well. We've got Rocky with the medicine ball, and he's apparently there with Adonis training in the desert. The we've got the training montages here, and the music. I like the sound of the music a lot, where it kind of is reminiscent of the Rocky music, the Bill Conti stuff, the "Gonna Fly Now" type thing, and you know, I hope that they do a take of "Gonna Fly Now" for Adonis. It's kind of an interesting thing because, in a sense, like that's Rocky's theme, but you know, Rocky is he's sort of fathering Adonis, in lieu of Apollo, because of course Apollo died tragically. There's no reason to believe that he wouldn't have been a good father to Adonis, but it's put into Rocky's hands to try to steer Adonis right as a mentor, and that's really cool. We got the same lines of your father died in my hands. It looks like some people are saying there might be two fights because we see Adonis with two different outfits on, two different gloves. He might not be fighting Drago twice, but I think it's safe to say that we're gonna see multiple fights, boxing matches in this. I would be happy to see two fights against Drago, because we didn't get too many double fights in the Rocky films. He fought Creed in two separate movies, and then we seen him fight um, uh, Clubber Lang twice in one movie. So again, a great trailer. Really excited for this one. This one's coming out Thanksgiving weekend, I believe. I'm not sure. They didn't say in the trailer, so I'd have to look that up. But yeah, I'm really excited about this one. If you're excited about this one as well, if you're a Rocky fan, if you're a Creed fan, if you just became a fan of the franchise through Creed, let me know. I want to know. What do you think about this trailer? Are you excited about it? Do you think there's going to be backlash, as I said, for any reason? Let me know in the comments below, and I'm really looking forward to this one. Really looking forward to it. Okay, let us take a look now at our second story of the evening. Yeah, you know how it goes here. It takes a while for us to get these things up. Once we, I wanted to get some Cobra Kai news in for season 2. I've been trying very hard to find Cobra Kai season 2 news. I feel like Mr. Miyagi trying to catch that fly. I can't find very much of it. But I did come across an interview with John Kreese himself, Martin Cove, and let's see. We've got an interview with Cove where he says a couple of things here that might be interesting about the future of Cobra Kai and John Kreese, as he will be taking part in that second season. He said, whoa, it's hard because, again, I've got two laptops I'm running at the same time, which I probably should have thought ahead, but I'm like there's a raid going on outside. But it's like, I feel like I'm doing a Tony Banks keyboard solo every time I am doing a video now. All right, so Martin Cope says, it's really interesting. The darkness that prevailed through John Kreese in those days is remembered by a lot of people. The interesting thing about what we're going to do is maybe he won't be so dark, but he'll still be on another agenda. Because as you know, by the 10th episode, it looks like he's got it all together. But maybe he doesn't, and that's what's really interesting. Maybe he doesn't have it all together, and maybe he's a human being after all, which is exciting for me to play as an actor. Everybody gets used to seeing John Kreese and thinking death and Lucifer and all of that, but how interesting it'd be if he has another side to him that is equally as effective. A vulnerable side that might just turn as dangerous. So that sounds pretty cool. Maybe he's changed his ways. That reminds me of Drago. Apparently, everybody can change, as Rocky said in Rocky 4, but Drago ain't changed. It looks like Ivan Drago is still the antagonist all these years later. And is that going to be the case for Martin Cove's John Kreese? Will he still be the antagonist 30 odd years later? Or, as he said, maybe he has an agenda, but maybe it's not quite a malignant agenda as it had been in the past. You got to remember, this is sort of his second, well, maybe arguably third try to get revenge. I guess arguably the first try was against Mr. Miyagi in the parking lot, where he basically tried to bash his face in. But then, of course, we had the Karate Kid Part 3, where, Martin Coves, Kreese, and Terry Silva basically created this this organized attempt to try to discredit Daniel LaRusso and Mr. Miyagi and goad them into another All Valley tournament. It's going to be interesting to see what they do for season 2 of the Karate Kids, Cobra Kai. I'm really looking forward to that as well. Hopefully, we'll have some new info on that sooner rather than later. I believe they're still shooting for next year, early next year for the sequels season. All right, let's take a look at our next story here. We have the Eternals. Marvel's Eternals is getting a new director. Well, not a new director, the first director. Let's see, her name is Chloe Zhao, I believe is how you pronounce it. She is going to be directing with Matthew and Ryan Firpo writing the tale of the Eternals. The Eternals are a a sci-fi element in Marvel, which they're saying is possibly going to be the Guardians of the Galaxy replacement going forward. Not necessarily meaning that there won't be a Guardians 3, much to the contrary, but there will probably be a need to expand in that direction once Guardians finally wraps up. Of course, when Guardians 3 is coming out is still anybody's guess. I don't really know this lady, Chloe Zhao. I don't know really what she's done before this, but apparently they trust her with the concept. I don't know a lot about the Eternals. I don't know much about the galactic side of Marvel. I know that this was sort of Jack Kirby's Marvel answer to his New Gods. He went over in 1970 to DC and made the New Gods, where DC promised him that he would have more freedom to do his own stories, doing books the way he wanted them done and do his own storylines and so forth. It didn't really pan out that well for him, supposedly. I mean, he did leave a legacy there. I think he did very well, but he was doing things like Jimmy Olsen Adventures and so forth, where nobody put him on Superman or Shazam or something, where he probably would have obviously would have excelled. So he came back to Marvel 1975, and he created the Eternals, which was basically his Marvel version of the New Gods. Let me see if I can give you a synopsis of what the New Gods were. What the Eternals were. Launched in 1976, the Eternals followed the titular group of characters, an uplifted subrace of humankind who'd been experimented on by the Marvel Cosmic's all-powerful divine entities, the Celestials, 5 million years in the past. The Celestials created two separate races out of their experiments: the Eternals, human-looking quasi-immortal beings with superpowers, and the Deviants, a grotesque, monstrous byproduct of the experiments that created a race of vengeful beings who would be forever envious of the Eternals. The Celestials tasked the Eternals with using their superpowers to protect the Earth from the threat of the Deviants, and then went on about their merry cosmic way. It goes on. This is from IO9, I guess. But so you can check that out if you want to read the full synopsis. But yeah, that sounds sort of like that was right up Kirby's alley. That was very interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing this. I don't know a heck of a lot about it. I don't know a heck of a lot about the New Gods either, because I've never been particularly interested in Kirby's cosmic work here. But they've stuffed Darkseid into pretty much every Superman storyline that they've ever made over there at DC. The Eternals are a little bit more niche stuff over at Marvel. It's a little bit more inside baseball, so I don't really know about the characters or anything, if there is any main characters that came from this strip. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below, if you're looking forward to the Eternals movie and what you hope to see in one of those movies. Okay, next up, we're going to get really deep here, ensconced in the DC news. We've got Matt Reeves. Matt Ryan, I'm thinking football. Okay, or actually, Matt Ryan also, that would be Constantine, right? Constantine. Won't be long now. We got the shows coming back on the CW. And I'm looking forward to that. Oh, yeah, Matt Reeves, of course. Matt Reeves. We're going to talk about this brief interview that came out today about the Batman that he is still continually working on, but not really making any progress with as of yet. IndieWire asked Reeves what he thought when it came to Batman's identity. Who is the real person, Batman or Bruce Wayne? He said, gosh, that's a tough question. I think that it's interesting because one of the things that I found interesting, just as we're working on the story, is looking back at Jekyll and Hyde and the idea of your shadow self and the idea of we are all multiple things. It's different aspects of who we are, and I think there are times when maybe the surface of Bruce is not really who he is, but that's his disguise. There are times when Batman's the disguise, but there are times when his true essence comes out, by by being veiled, a kind of instinctual side comes out that's very pure. I think that's true. A lot of people have posed this question, which is Bruce the mask? Is Batman the mask? I think it always comes down to the same thing with Superman. There's a core character, this core Bruce Wayne. Then there's the foppish Bruce Wayne, where he puts on an antic disposition, so to speak, where he looks like a goofball and doesn't have it together. Then there's Batman, where it's not necessarily an act, but he's putting on a more dramatic, you know, interpretation of himself. I don't think Batman is really the true face, which would, go against what Batman Begins says by the end of the movie. But there is a middle ground where there is the Bruce Wayne who is still the kid from Crime Alley, who's still seen all that stuff and uses the worst part of that to become Batman, but still holds on to the humanity of the foppish disposition where he puts on that face before the people. So I think there's a middle ground. The same thing with Superman. I think Superman has the Superman identity where he's got it all together, and he knows what's what. But then again, there's the Clark Kent persona, which is sort of a goofball where he is trying to throw people off the scent. But then there's the Smallville Clark, where he's Ma and Pa Kent's kid, and that's kind of where he grew up and knows what he is from that. Superman himself is sort of the son of Jor-El. That's sort of a legacy that he has, but there is like another component. So I always thought there was three components, both to Batman and Superman. Ironically enough, they're both DC characters, but they both have that kind of three three natures, sort of a trinity of natures about themselves. He added, it's not an easy question to answer in that I don't think we are all made up of so many different aspects of ourselves that make the whole. I said, no, I said it wrong. I think we are all made up of so many different aspects of ourselves that make the whole. I don't know if you could ever reduce anyone to one part of what they express. That's what's fun about his character. It's that there's a very bright light that shines on his shadow side. The idea of all of that is incredibly exciting. It's part of what makes it fun for me to work on. Batman's next film adventure is currently set to begin shooting in early 2019. So we got some time here for him to work on this. But yeah, what do you think? What do you think about the triune manifestation of Batman, the triune manifestation of Superman while we're at it? Do you think there is one default persona of them, or is it really just a little bit of all? I think, like I said, there's sort of like a middle, and they lean into one side or the other. But there is, like, as he said, a multitude of aspects that you can't just capture in being one or the other. I think that's part of the problem with a lot of Batman interpretations is they interpret him too much Batman, not enough Bruce Wayne, or too much Crime Alley Batman, not enough Bruce Wayne. the problem with Batman being too driven, where he can't stop and smell the roses, I think that's something that's been cumbersome to the character since, well, probably since Batman 89. Of course, it comes from The Dark Knight Returns, and that kind of thing has, you know, painted Batman in a certain corner for most of, you know, the years that followed. But I've never liked having the uber driven Batman. You know, I've never liked it where he is obsessed. And they kind of made him that in Batman 89, even Batman the Animated Series, where, you know, it's basically the best incarnation of Batman, but you still have him sort of grappling with losing his humanity, so to speak, that he has become the Batman fully to the point where there is basically no Bruce Wayne, and it's only, as I said, the superficial persona of Bruce Wayne that he puts on in front of people. But I still think there should be a middle ground, and again, you know, you see some of that in the movies. You see some of that in Batman '89. I think the scene with him with Vicky in the when he's having dinner or whatever in the kitchen or something, and you know, it sort of shows the humanity side of Bruce Wayne, which they bury too much in most of the incarnations. I think Batman Begins brought it out well, where it shows that Bruce Wayne is not obsessed as much as determined. He's not like compulsively driven, but he's driven out of like wisdom. You know what I mean? He knows what he's doing. He's not doing it out of some kind of compulsion, more that he knows what he can do and he's going to do it. I think that's why I like Batman Forever, that take on it, where at the end of the movie he says, you know, I'm Batman Forever, you know, not because I have to be, but because I choose to be. This is something that Bruce has chosen to do, not necessarily something that he's, you know, obsessively compulsed to do. Which again, this is something that brings me into opposition with The Dark Knight Rises, where I don't think Batman would hang it up. I think this is something that he feels that he can do, and he's going to do it as long as possible until it's physically impossible for him to do, and then he'd take his successor. But again, they kind of did that with a 42-year-old Bruce Wayne hanging it up. I don't see him hanging it up that early, you know. But let me know what you think in the comments below. We will move on now to, yes, it finally happened. We got the Birds of Prey casting confirmation. And yes, they've gone with woke casting. Oh boy, you know how much I love my woke casting. What do Warner Brothers and DC have against Black Canary? Can I ask? Because not only am I saying this casting because it's woke is not giving us the Black Canary we wanted, but we haven't had the Black Canary we've wanted in live action pretty much all across the board. Going back so far as I'll say Smallville. I wasn't even impressed with that version of Black Canary. She had the butch haircut, and I don't know. I didn't like it. I didn't like Smallville very much at all, to be honest with you. I think uh, the actor that played Green Arrow, and of course I'm blanking on his name, he was very good. He was probably the best thing about Smallville. But I didn't like the Black Canary in Smallville. Then we got the Arrowverse, and they completely botched the Black Canary there. They botched the character of Katie Cassidy's version, and maybe it could have been salvageable, but they pretty much ruined her character from the get go. They made her, you know, Laurel Lance, and they didn't want to say Dinah Laurel Lance until, you know, then she became the Black Canary. Of course, they gave us Sarah Lance, who, of course, wasn't Dinah, the Dinah Lance, you know, and she was pretty much the best Black Canary. She had the look down pat, of course. Katie Lotz just looked perfect as the Black Canary. They, you know, they didn't give her the appropriate backstory. Of course, she was an assassin for the League of Assassins. Of course, that didn't really fit in too well. They killed her off, brought her back as White Canary. They killed off Black Canary when they supposedly didn't know what to do with the character, because I believe they didn't know what to do with the character because their whole intent on Arrow is to appease the shipper cult. And the shipper cult was so, you know, incensed with the character because they were so afraid that Black Canary is still alive. There might someday be a way to get Laurel back with Oliver. And they didn't want that desperately, even though Oliver was already a thing with Felicity. And although, you know, Oliver and Felicity are married now. And it's the same thing I say with Oliver and with Barry and Iris. They're married now. There's nothing you can do about that. Nobody, or at least I don't want to see a superhero marriage broken up. If they were to break up over other circumstances, maybe, but you're always going to have that, you know, people that want Laurel back with Oliver. You don't really want Laurel to be the other woman, do you? Same thing with Caitlin over on the Flash. Yeah, I would prefer Barry with Caitlin, Snow Barry as they call it. But then you're gonna have, you know, Caitlin being the other woman. She's breaking up a marriage. The marriage happened. You got to go with it by from here on out. There is no changing it and getting around it. Anyway, I digress. So now we're on Black Canary number 3 or 4, if you want to count Smallville. Live action Black Canaries. Dinah Drake, who is of course, you know, that's a sort of a sop to the original Silver Age Black Canary. And I like her. I like the actress Julia Harkavy, I believe is her name. I like the actress and I like what she's doing with the character, but again, this is Black Canary Mark III. It's impossible to feel anything for the character of Black Canary at this point because they've made 3 incarnations, some better than others, but they've missed the boat on all 3. Again, like I said, they completely miswrote Laurel. They had Sarah as an assassin, which kind of doesn't, you know, even though she's perfect as the character, doesn't match the backstory. And now we have Dinah Drake, who is, of course, a policewoman, but it's like the third shot at the character, and we have, you know, too much water under the bridge at this point where this Black Canary can't be a romantic item with Oliver Queen because he's already married to Felicity. And of course, she still doesn't have the really blonde hair, Dinah, which I guess they want to sort of distance her from the looks of the other Black Canaries who were in fact blonde. You know, the Katie Cassidy Black Canary was sort of a golden blonde. Katie Lotz was the only one that really looked like the Black Canary from the comics. But anyway, here we go. Here we go. We've got, let's see. According to Deadline, Journey Smollett Bell has been cast as the Black Canary. Now, of course, she's black. She's a black actress, and they were saying they were putting feelers out in media to sort of suggest that they wanted to do some woke casting with Birds of Prey, because you know, having an Asian character, an Italian character, a white character, and you know, I guess another white character when you want to count Harley, you know, it's too much. We can't have 2 blondes in the same movie. It's too much. So they had to cast a black actress in the Black Canary role, which again, that's kind of, isn't that kind of on the nose? They're doing like, you know, Black Lightning, Black Goliath, you know, there's Black Canary, you know what I mean? That's, isn't that too on the nose? But anyway, yeah. So again, what do they got against casting, you know, like the comics? Why is this something that we're supposed to be ashamed of to say, look, I want the Black Canary to look like the Black Canary of the comics. She's blonde, she's white, and you know, in her long storied history, she had a long, you know, long-standing affair with the Green Arrow that we still haven't seen accurately represented in live action. Again, I don't remember too much about the way they handled it in Smallville, but you know, they had you know, Green Arrow fooling around with Miss Tessmacher of all people, so that wasn't really a faithful rendition there. I think he wound up with Chloe Sullivan, right? Which that's kind of going to make the Smallville reunion movie or series awkward that she can't reprise her role, and she's going to be doing 11 to 20 in Leavenworth. But, all right, so I know we're getting all over the place here, but my main point in this is we haven't seen the perfect representation of Black Canary in live action yet. This would have been the perfect time. Spin her off into a Green Arrow movie. We would have the accurate Black Canary, Green Arrow love story as was meant to be seen in live action on the big screen, something all fans would be crazy about, something every DC fan hasn't seen yet. But no, they're already going woke. So already this is not going to be the way that you wanted it. This is not going to be straight from the page because already, and again, attractive woman, nothing is wrong with that. The problem is, why can't we have casting choices be representing what the characters look like on the page? Why do we have to feel woke about every single choice? Now, we haven't done this with too many choices in the DC universe haven't been woke. I mean, we haven't had a lot of woke casting. I think Jason Momoa was probably the most woke casting, where of course they went with I guess he's of Samoan descent or Hawaiian descent or something like that, where, Aquaman is, of course, just another blonde white guy. And of course, I would have liked to see a blonde white guy as Aquaman, but Jason Momoa's got a personality enough that he really embodies that character and gives it something that I want to watch. I enjoy seeing. Now, the argument can be made is that what they're going to try to do here? But again, the look is not going to be the same because I doubt they're going to give um, Journey, I guess is her name. I doubt they're going to give her a blonde wig. I mean, that's kind of like the same thing with Starfire. You 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 know in that case, we wanted them to put the makeup on her. So I mean, it wasn't so much that I didn't ever had a problem with the actress playing Starfire. Is that her name, Starfire? Or am I thinking of the? That's Firestar. Yeah, Spider-Man: Amazing Friends is Firestar, right? Yeah, Starfire is Teen Titans. So I never had a problem with the actress in Teen Titans or Titans. The problem comes with, why won't you make her look like the character? Give her the orange makeup, the orange skin. And that's the thing. When you cast a black actor, for the purpose of being woke, you're not going to try to make them look like the character. You know what I mean? I seriously doubt they're going to try to give her blonde hair and blue eye contact lenses like um what was it, Jessica Alba in Fantastic Four. They're just going straight out woke. And again, I've done this many times, but my rant you can find in my soapbox. When you go woke, you're basically saying that nothing about the character being white informs that character. And what that says to me is that you are in fact racist. Because if you're saying, well, it doesn't matter because white don't mean nothing, that's really a racist thing to say. Now, Black Canary's white, she should be played by a white actress. We shouldn't be, you know, doing, for lack of a better term, blackface. You shouldn't be using a black actor to fill a white character's role. And as I've said countless times, it isn't like you can't find great black characters to put in these movies. I mean, the comics are replete with a lot of black characters that you can bring in. Vixen being one of them. Vixen would be the first one I would go to. I would say Birds of Prey. You get sort of an animal variant theme there. You could bring Vixen in on Birds of Prey. If you're gonna have Harley Quinn working with the Birds of Prey, having Vixen working with the Birds of Prey wouldn't be too much of a stretch. But no, we have to be woke. We have to show how enlightened we are. We can't have Black Canary look like Black Canary and give us the definitive Black Canary. No, we have to have woke casting. So yeah, that's my rant. I don't know. Then we've got, let's move on here to Mary Elizabeth Winstead as the Huntress. Now, again, if you want to be really, really woke, shouldn't shouldn't this character be played by an Italian woman? Because that is one of the main traits of the Huntress, is that she's the daughter of a crime family. She's like the daughter of a crime lord, a godfather. And Mary Elizabeth Winstead is English. She doesn't have an Italian bone in her body. Now, that's if you want to be that woke. Uh, you know, I think she looks Italian enough that it could, you know, she could pass for Italian, and it need not be an issue. But for these people that are like, we have to cast every role that is not blonde-haired, blue-eyed white person with a minority casting. Well, Italian is a minority to you? Excuse me? We have Italian representation a lot, do we? As an Italian man, I don't know about that. I think maybe we need to cast more Italians being accurate. Maybe we need more, more true blue, accurate Italian actors playing these Italian roles. See how crazy you can go if you wanted to do these things. But yeah, I'm not as concerned about Mary Elizabeth Winstead. She could play the part. They're not going to give her the sexy costume. We already have got woke casting. I know the costumes are going to be woke as well. We're not going to have Black Canary in the fishnet stockings. Really was hoping that they would go as accurate as possible on this. But again, when you see that they're going woke with the casting, I don't think the costumes are going to be much better. I'm fully expecting that Harley Quinn is not going to be wearing the booty shorts this time out. And she could be wearing different outfits as Harley Quinn. That's not really a problem. But if they're going to go woke, she's probably going to do this usual motorcycle jumpsuit or something. That's what I'm expecting. And yeah, once again, it looks like, you know, SJW influence has once again reared its ugly head. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you looking forward to Birds of Prey, which will be out? We've got a release date for this as well, February 7th, 2020. That's an interesting date. I don't know. That's kind of, are they not expecting this to do well maybe already? I don't know. Usually don't put, what would be, what you would expect to be a superhero blockbuster in February. But then again, now that Black Panther broke that mold, it's up for grabs. I think any month is up for grabs now for these superhero films. But again, this is the thing. I mean, I wouldn't have any black character be recast as white. Why would you? It's like, and it's like they try to make it a race issue. Why do you want to make it a race issue for? Why are you trying to prove something to people when all you're doing is making yourself look desperate? You're making yourself look like we can't come up with characters. You can't trust up. You can't trust us to utilize the characters that are already black or other minorities. So we've got to change things. We've got to change established characters, the ones that you loved, the ones that you're paying money to see. We're going to change them on you because we don't think you're woke enough. We don't think that you know what's best for movies. We don't think you know what's best for this character. This character is good only for representation. Don't you forget it. And, that just puts me off. That just puts me off like nobody's business because, like I said, we haven't even seen. I mean, a lot of times they have the excuse, like with Spider-Man, when we've got the woke Spider-Man, and it's like, oh, nobody wants to see Gwen Stacy again. We already got that. Nobody wants to see Mary Jane again. Well, we didn't really ever get an accurate Black Canary Green Arrow relationship. You know what I mean? It's like if you want to go woke, it's more understandable you're going to go woke on something on the third try. But even there, it's an insult because, as anyone would tell you, Mary Jane's a redhead. You don't mess with that. Aunt May is supposed to be an old lady. You don't mess with that. What is it with, trying to mess up these comic book properties? It just irritates me. It irritates me. It irritates me to no end. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Birds of Prey, are you excited about this film? Are you going to see it? Again, I don't even know. I mean, if this is like a rated R thing, like they keep trying to force on us, the rated R superhero stuff, I might skip it. I might skip it as it is if it's rated R. If it's not rated R, I might just, grit my teeth and bear it. But I have a funny feeling that this one is not going to pan out, because when you're doing stuff like this, I didn't really think DC, Warner Brothers DC, was really capable of, going this woke. Because as up to now, as I said, they've done pretty good casting. You know what I mean? Hell, Gal Gadot, Henry Cavill, Ben Affleck. Heck, I mean, uh, going so far as Zachary Levi, he looks great. Joaquin Phoenix. I mean, the only times, I mean, arguably, I don't know if Ezra Miller's the greatest casting, but he still can, he still fits in with the look. You know what I mean? It's just the sort of being a goofball that's, and well, we'll see. Let me know in the comments below what you think about the Birds of Prey casting, and will you see this movie in theaters? Are you interested in it? Or is this just like a PC move to get, as many female projects out there in the DC verse as possible? It could be the answer to Captain Marvel, just the same way they wanted to get, Wonder Woman out before Captain Marvel. I think they also want to get Birds of Prey out before there's some kind of team up movie in Marvel's MCU. All right, so here is our main story. We've got the Joaquin Phoenix Joker reveal. Oh yes, I loved it. I loved this little clip they put out of Joaquin Phoenix. They had the Guess Who singing "Laughing," which is one of my favorite songs. That is one of the great songs from the Guess Who, and it shows the transformation from Arthur Fleck. That's what his last name is apparently now, Fleck, as there is like some grainy 70s footage over his face as he transforms to the Joker. This was like a makeup test, I believe. And this freaked a lot of people the hell out because in in a new move, we have some blue diamond painting around the eyes of the Joker. We have red eyebrows smeared over the Joker's eyes, and we got a red nose for the Joker. Now, this look doesn't bother me that much because, hey, again, they desperately want to have a different look because we're going on like, is this the fifth live action Joker? I believe the fifth. We got Romero, Nicholson, um, Ledger, Leto. Yeah, he's the fifth live action Joker, and they want to make him look a little different. So I understand that. Now, the idea, of course, is that this is like a proto version of the Joker. This doesn't necessarily mean that he is going to look like this when he meets Batman. He's got, you know, he's got the nose is probably going to go. He's probably not going to have the red nose. He's not going to have the red eyebrow thingies that are kind of stupid. He's probably just going to have the blue stuff under the eyes, kind of. I think that is an okay. I think that's okay. When you look at what happened with Jared Leto with the silver teeth that nobody really took too well, and you got the damage tattoo on the forehead and all the tats and stuff. Nobody liked that. I didn't like that. Nobody liked it. This is going back to basis. This does look very Heath Ledger-ish. We've got sort of the scruffy green hair, which thank God it's green. He spray painted he spray painted it green, which is I think even more noticeable than the Ledger version, which kind of just like streaked it in. This looks like it's really a good job done. And yeah, so I love that little glimpse we had of him. We got a lot more pictures during the week of, let's see if I can bring a few up here, of Joaquin Phoenix. He looks great, very sinister. He looks like a cross between the Ledger Joker and the Cesar Romero Joker. I like this costume he's wearing. A lot of people are saying it's red. It's not really red. I would say it's more what you would call maroon. It's not that plum red that we're used to the Joker wearing. But then again, of course, the Joker is being born here. This is a transitional period for the Joker. This is not something that is a finished look. So it's easier to see him having this kind of weird looking color suit in his closet and pulling this out. rather than, say, like I said, a lavender purple or a plum purple. It looks very different there. His nose is so prominent. I would think maybe they chose to make his nose red, sort of to bring out that nose. I don't know. And of course, his eyes. He's got great eyes for the Joker. They match the blue very well. Ironically, the Joker has blue eyes, I think, in the comics, but I don't think an actor ever played the Joker that had blue eyes. So I think that's another reason why for the blue around the eyes, it matches his eyes really well. But again, I think it's just a proto version. I don't think anybody should freak out about the fact that they've kind of took some liberties with, again, I don't really mind when you take liberties if they're good. I mean, I could live with these liberties. Of course, this is the suit. I love this suit. It looks very Cesar Romero-ish to me. And like the mustard colored vest and the aqua shirt. This is all very 70s Joker from the comics. Honestly, it looks very, very 70s Joker-esque. And this film was supposed to take place in the 70s or early 80s, I guess, depending on who you hear. This was interesting to try to. They revealed a snippet of this scene, which has the Joker coming off of a subway. And he apparently has a lot of followers, as you can see in the background. There's a lot of guys with Joker masks or makeup. This kind of leads me to, and the Joker himself has a mask on. This kind of leads me to believe that the Joker is going to try to do something to get Gotham on his side. Almost like probably taking a page out of Batman '89 with the hubba 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 money money money. Because it doesn't look like people are afraid of the Joker. I think he's got like people that want to support him because he's trying to turn, he's trying to pull that anarchy card again. I think he's trying to turn Gothamites against the people in charge. Not unlike, the Nolan verse kind of, but I think also like the Burton Joker. And I think also what this has to do with is Thomas Wayne is supposed to be someone. He's supposed to be in the movie, and I think he's someone in charge. He's pretty big in this here. I don't know if I've got the image. I can't find it. I picked a couple of images, but I don't think I've got the one where it says "Blame Wayne," a sign in the background. Yeah, this isn't the image, but there seems to be a following of the Joker that are blaming Thomas Wayne on something. And again, this is the thing that concerns me. I'm more concerned about how they're going to ruin the legacy of Batman more than Joaquin's performance. I mean, Joaquin's going to do a good job and it looks great. I just don't know if they're going to do some crazy stuff with Thomas Wayne and the story of Batman. I don't want to see another Joker kills Thomas Wayne Batman origin. I don't need that in my life, and I don't want to see that. Again, we'll run through a couple more shots because we got a lot of shots during the week. This is the Joker on the subway with his Joker mask on, with his party. I don't know exactly what they all look like. They're, I don't know if they're supposed to be decoys or something, because some of them look alike. They're dressed alike. But yeah, that's the Joker before he is revealed on the subway. Then we got some shots of the Joker in clown getup from apparently his act. He's got an act. As we seen in the other picture last episode where he was last Torch News Roundup, if you want to check that out, where we seen him on the street and he was talking to like this big clown guy and he was taking the nose off him or something. And we were kind of seeing that he, I think, wants the job that fat clown guy had, and he apparently goes in there and gets that job and tries to, take on this character of a clown. So that's really interesting. And he's got the oversized shoes, which you can't see here because I couldn't find that image, but and another great close-up here of him as the Joker. One of the things that bugged me that I'm going to be very frank with is the fact that it's the smeared on makeup again. This looks like we're going to get a smeared on makeup Joker. Now, they could try to be authentic about this, and he will have the Axis Chemicals origin or the Ace Chemicals origin if you want to be a purist like me. And he'll fall into the vat of chemicals because of Batman and look like the Joker, as we all know and love him, with the painted on grin that can't be removed, the white skin, the green hair. Possibly, maybe that's the way he ends up looking because he's already got the red lipstick, the makeup on his lips, let's say, that is going to be permanently tattooed to his face. And the green product in his hair will already be there and will permanently affix itself to his hair. That is something they can do, which would be interesting because in all other versions, you know, he looks normal. And seeing himself with the ghastly looking face, the ghastly countenance is what drives him mad. I always like that aspect. So seeing him seeing him putting the makeup on, I think, is a disservice to the character. But it would be interesting to see if he could equally be driven mad if he can't take the makeup off. That he has to stay in character as the Joker forever. He can't go back to Arthur Fleck. He has to stay the Joker once this is dyed in his flesh and hair. That could be a way to play it where it would still work for me. And of course, they're saying uh, the name Arthur Fleck, Affleck. They try to say that that perhaps is some kind of in joke, or they're trying to get Affleck back as Batman, and this is sort of throwing him a bone, so to speak. I guess I'm not sure. All right, let's see. There are a few more images. Let's see. We've got this is the images of him on the phone, where he's in a phone booth. Remember, this is the late 70s, early 80s, after his act, apparently talking to someone and getting very animated about it. I made a joke on Twitter that his agent is telling him he's got the lead role in Godspell, and this is how the movie ends, where he finally hit the big time, and no career as the Joker. He made it big. It's all he wanted to do. But again, some great shots there. Some very interesting looking images of him. And let's see. We've got, this is a better looking picture, close up of him. He just looks great. I mean, and then we got a sort of a dejected look there on the Joker's face, a forlorn look. I think this is probably something really bad happens to him here, which is what pushes him over the edge, pushes him over the brink. And yeah, it just looks great. I mean, I had my doubts about this movie. This is the thing. Because a lot of people, I even said on Twitter, Grace Randolph was saying, don't show us any more images. Don't show us anymore. You showed us the reveal of the face with the laughing, clip. Don't show us anything else. The laughing clip worked well, but I think this works even better because I had literally zero expectations for this film. I did not need nor did I want a Joker origin movie, a solo Joker origin movie at that, where Batman is not even promised. I mean, they could always flash forward whatever this is going to be 15 years and we'll see him with Batman at the end of the movie. That's still a very good possibility, but I really didn't want this. I don't need a Joker origin. I've said it many times, but this has got me interested. I've got to say, I am looking forward to seeing more from this film as much as I can possibly see. I've looked at some of the stuff, but I don't really feel that the movie is being spoiled by this. And of course, the idea is that this is going to be very Scorsese-esque. This is going to be King of Comedy meets Taxi Driver, and I don't know. It's very interesting to me. It's very interesting. This is cool. Apparently, somebody makes the mistake of trying to accost Arthur in that phone booth, which is a big mistake, apparently, by the look on his face. And that reminds me of what that really reminds me of. That reminds me of the scene in King of Comedy where that's a great movie, by the way, if you haven't seen it, where Jerry Lewis is on the street and he's trying to talk to the person there on the phone. That was something that really happened to Jerry in real life. So anyway, also the phone had a lot to do with King of Comedy as well, with Rupert Pumpkin being on the phone constantly trying to get in touch with Jerry. So the phone, what I'm trying to say, is actually a big part of King of Comedy and the Scorsese flavor. I like that here. So that's great. All right. Before we wrap it up, let's take a look at a few more pictures here. Um, and we got this last one here of him. Medium shot. Again, the background looks like there's some clown stuff going on in the back. Pretty interesting. That kind of gap tooth grin that that Joaquin has, that actually works really well with the character. Because I was thinking when I first saw this picture, I was saying, nah, that's not a Joker smile. That's not a Joker smile. But I kind of like the roughness of this first look of the Joker. I like this kind of rough and tumble look where he don't really look like the Joker as we know him yet. And I think that kind of is the impression I get here. All right, so let's take a look at this last image here that we've got a picture of Zazie Beetz. That is her name, I believe. And this is Arthur. I don't think this is the same picture. I think this might be them just, mashing it up. But Zazie Beetz is going to be in the movie. I don't know if I announced that. She's going to be playing a character apparently called, if I look up my notes fast enough, let's see, Sophie Dumond, who is described as a single mother. And I'm going to have to paraphrase the rest of this here because I don't have the full the full description, but she's a character who is not beautiful, a single mother, kind of beat down, put through the grind of life. And I think that is probably who Arthur is talking to on the phone there, because part of one of the Joker's many origins that are told is that he was like a uh, a husband that was trying to provide for his family and the child that they were expecting, and he was trying to make it as a stand-up comedian. Didn't work out too well for him. So I think this is kind of a good blend of those storylines. I think what's probably going to happen is, again, much in shades of King of Comedy, which, like I said, a movie I like a lot. He was trying desperately to impress his girlfriend, who really wasn't his girlfriend, who was also black, coincidentally, which is why I think this role might be similar. And he tries to impress her that he knows Jerry Lewis, Jerry Langford in the movie, and that he's trying very desperately to become something in the entertainment world. And I think that's sort of what Arthur's trying to do here. He's trying to become something in the entertainment world, but, especially in this day and age as well, but, even in the 70s and 80s, being a clown isn't exactly top of the totem pole. So he's going to have these delusions of grandeur that are that he's going to have, that he's going to use to try to impress Sophie. So again, let me know what you think about the movie. Are you as excited as I am about it? Again, I want to be cautious. I want to be cautiously optimistic because it still could go very wrong. I don't know what they're going to do with Thomas Wayne. Are they going to screw things up? Like I said, there's been rumors that maybe Thomas was going to be his father, Arthur's as well. I don't think they're going to go there, but again, casting a bad light on Thomas Wayne in any way is probably the best way to put me off to this movie. But Joaquin Phoenix looks great. And let me know what you think in the comments below. What do you think about the look of the Joker set photos? What do you think about the look of Joaquin Phoenix's Joker? And do you think this is going to be, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of R-rated properties for superhero movies. But this to me does not look like it's going to be. I don't think it's going to, if they stick with King of Comedy, more King of Comedy and less Taxi Driver, because I really like King of Comedy and it's an R-rated film. They just, don't go, this don't look to me like it's going to be a very violent movie. So if they just stay away from sort of the gratuitous violence, they probably, you know, they probably could still release this as a PG-13 movie. What else are you going to have in it? Just some curse words, cut down on the F-bombs, just stick to one F-bomb. and they could probably release this. I don't think this is necessarily needing to be a R-rated movie, and I hope that it isn't. Just like Venom, which is going to come out next week, by the way. Everybody remember Venom coming out, and I am going to review that for you because it is PG-13, and I'm not going to be subjected to gratuitous violence. I will finally, and gore. That's the thing I hate the most, the gore. I will be able to review Venom for you. It's coming out the 5th, so I would probably say the soonest I'll be able to review that would be probably the following Wednesday, because, we do Wednesday broadcasts. Thank you for joining me for this broadcast, by the way. And also, I wanted to uh, put you wise, so to speak, if you're watching this, and give you a little heads up that they are going to have the Dark Phoenix X-Men movie. They are going to have a trailer out tonight. Unfortunately, it's going to be after midnight, and by then, I couldn't hold off on doing the broadcast to talk about it. So we will be talking about that on our next episode, the Torch News Roundup, which will be number 108. And we will try to get that to you on Saturday. I like to do my videos Wednesdays and Saturdays in the current schedule. So that is going to be exciting. We already know what we're going to talk about there. As usual, let me know what you think in the comments below about any of the topics we've talked about today. Smash that subscribe button. Smash that like button. And be sure to follow me on Twitter. Check out my website, The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Comics. Thank you very much for joining me. Always a pleasure. And again, I want to see if I can do some scripted videos. I got some free software, free because I'm broke, but I got some software that will replace my Windows Live Movie Maker that is defunct now. So I can get back to creating some real good short clip videos. We'll still probably do the Torch News Roundup live and let me kick it around for an hour, because that's kind of what we do nowadays. So let me kick around the live broadcasts with Torch News Roundup, but we're going to do some more reviews, some more soapboxes. Hopefully we can get a lot of this stuff done, because it's tough to do when I've got a lot of work to do on my books. We're still coloring the 5th issue, so once that's done, you'll probably see an uptick in videos, but we are going to try very desperately. I'm going to try to get some more Halloween reviews out for you. I've got one prepared already, like I said, that I just need to film and edit. We're going to see if we can get that done this weekend, and hopefully you'll have a little more bonus content to look forward to from Johnnie Torch. And speaking of same, this is Johnnie Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.